Hey guys, it's right here, and today I have a Borderlands 2 build video for Axton the Commando. We're going to be concentrating in this build on utilizing his rocket launcher and grenade abilities based on the perks that we're going to spend points on, as well as using the specific class mod. Now, there are some build videos out there that do show how to utilize this type of build with a legendary class mod. I actually am not going to use a legendary class mod on this one. This one is going to use a class mod that's really going to benefit his Grenadier skills. So that's kind of how we're going to go with this video. You will notice the points here that I have spent. I don't have the class mod equipped, so you can see how to spend the points. You will have an extra point to utilize for whatever perk you may wish that I don't have spent here. So if you do the build kind of how I've done it here, realize you will have one extra point to spend. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the build here. You'll see starting over here on the Guerrilla tree that I've put 5 points into Sentry. That's because what we're going to be using the turret for is basically to slag enemies and do some extra damage while that turret's out there. So we want to put 5 points into Sentry so we get the 10 extra seconds that the turret will be out there on the field for. We're going to combine that over here in the Gunpowder tree with Battlefront, which you see increases our grenade damage by 30%. So that's while the turret is out there and deployed. So that's really going to increase the damage we do with our grenades while that turret's out there. It's going to help us out a lot. Next over here in the Guerrilla tree, we have the Ready skill. We're putting 5 points into that for the reload speed. Because we're going to be using rocket launchers to do a lot of our damage, rocket launchers, some of the ones I'm using can take 7-8 seconds to reload. We want to get that increased reload speed so we can cut down that reload as much as we can on those rockets. Especially useful when you have a mob of enemies, you're trying to reload. You don't want to have to wait 8 seconds to get a shot off on enemies that may be right up close to you. So it's good for situations like that. Below that, we have Willing, which is going to increase our shield recharge rate and recharge delay. We want to put 5 points into this primarily because if you see over here in the survival tree, we're not putting any points into this tree, which is a tree that utilizes maximum health, increased shield capacity, regeneration, things like that. Since we're not putting points into that, we want to make sure we have some points into Willing so we can get our shields back up and running quickly, back up to full capacity very quickly. It just helps us survive a little bit longer. Below that, we have Able. Kind of the same thing here. We're going to put 5 points into that to get some health regeneration when we damage an enemy. Again, just to keep ourselves alive and keep our health regenerating a little bit longer. Over here, we put a point into Scorched Earth to get the rockets for the turret. Just helps the turret do a little bit more damage, plus it looks really cool. Now below that, we have one of the more important perks for this class. It's Grenadier. Now Grenadier is very important in that since we're utilizing grenades, we're utilizing rocket launchers, we want to make sure we increase our grenade capacity. So if we do have a powerful grenade mod we're using, we're going to be able to throw these grenades out and we'll just have that many more to throw out. And you'll see when I add the class mod how it really increases this perk. So now below that, we have Double Up. We're going to put points into Double Up. Really not to get the second gun, but more so you see there that it gives a chance for both guns to fire slag bullets. We want to be slagging enemies, especially in Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, due to the fact that if you do have an enemy that's slagged, he's going to take 4 times more damage than he normally would. So we're going to be using whatever we can to utilize slag and get enemies slagged before we hit them with the rockets. Double Up helps us do that. Okay, so let's go over here to the Gunpowder tree, and over here you see that we put 5 points into Impact. Again, also because the mod we're going to be using does utilize Impact and put some points into there, so we want to make sure we have 5 points into that right there. Now below that here, it's kind of your choice at this point what you might want to put points in to get to the other tier. I decided to put it into Metal Storm for me. I will utilize a assault rifle in this build occasionally for that hard to reach enemy that might be on top of a ledge or somewhere where I can't really get him with rockets too easily and I need something more precise. Metal Storm kind of, helps with that if I've killed somebody. But if you wanted to put it in Expertise or even put them into Overload to get down to this next tier here, feel free. It really is kind of a personal preference thing at that point, as this Metal Storm really isn't really utilized well for rocket launchers. Recoil reduction, you shoot a rocket launcher, a lot of times you just end up reloading it. It's not a fast fire weapon, so fire rate and recoil reduction really don't help those, but it's just really what your preference is at that point. We want to put the 5 points in. Below down here is where we start getting into the real nitty-gritty of this build. Battlefront, like I said before, put 5 points into that because we want to deal the extra grenade damage when that turret's deployed. We want to put 1 point into longbow because it gives us the additional turret health. Also allows us to deploy that turret at enemies at a distance. Since the turret, when it's out there on the battlefield, kind of attracts enemies. It's like a magnet. Enemies will go to that before they go to you a lot of times. Being that the case, we want to make sure we can throw it out at a badass enemy's feet, for example, get a nuke blast on them down here with the nuke, and then also, you know, keep them kind of at a distance from us so we can use our rockets a little bit better. If you drop it right next to you, if you drop a turret right next to you and the enemies are attracted there, you run the risk of, when you shoot the rockets, of doing damage to yourself based on the explosive damage. And you can put yourself into a fight for your life situation quite often by doing that. So you want to use longbow to make sure you can get that turret out away from you and almost use it as an extended weapon. Right here, steady. Steady is really something we're going to put 5 points into. This is the one we're going to make sure we get those points in there because the class mod is going to buff this quite a bit. So we want to make sure that this, you know, is buffed up as much as we can. As you see, the extra grenade damage and rocket launcher damage, just awesome. Got to put the points in there. It's you know, integral to this build. And below that we have do or die. Again, same thing. We're not so much worried about throwing grenades and fight for your life, but the extra 10% grenade damage and rocket launcher damage, you know, do or die combined with steady, then combined with Battlefront when the turret's out there and deployed, we're doing massive damage with our rocket launchers and our grenades. Then down from there, we want to put 5 points into Ranger. As you can see, just all around it's good. It does help in your magazine size, your reload speed, maximum health, crit damage, all the good stuff that just really helps you and will help you with rockets as well. And then down there, the 1 point in nuke, again, something that looks cool to throw out on the screen, but also a great knockback weapon, which really helps knock a bigger, badder enemy back away from you. Great for escaping if you are trying to reload, you have enemies close to you, you're in danger of going into fight for your life. If you got that turret, you can throw it down, knock them back a little bit. That usually will give you enough time to get some separation from the enemy, as well as reload your rocket launcher. So let's go ahead and add the class perk here, and we'll see. You see the legendary one there. I'd use the legendary one quite often, the legendary mod here, in different builds. But for this build, I'd rather go with this one, the Expert Grenadier class mod. As you see, I have two there. They do different damages and spend the points differently to Grenadier, Steady, and Impact. However, for this one, I want to go ahead and put it into Steady to get that additional rocket launcher damage on that. So as you see here now, we got the 3 points in Impact, which increased our gun and melee damage. But right here, we got now 10 out of 5 points in Steady, which increases the grenade damage to 50%, rocket launcher damage to 40%. So combined with these other skills here, you know, Do or Die and Battlefront, we're just doing massive damage now with our grenades, with our rocket launcher. As well as over here, we go down here and we go to Grenadier. Now look, our grenade capacity just went up 4 more grenades to 9 extra grenades now compared to what we would normally have. So again, just awesome to have that many grenades, be able to throw them out at will, and really, you know, with all the perks over here, just do a ton of damage to the enemies with those. Let's go ahead and get into the build here. So a few things I run with. Again, some of these things you can mix or match depending on how you like. One of the main ones I have here is my Logan's gun. As you see down below at the lower left of the screen, I have 52 rockets available. 52 rockets is a huge amount of rockets. And that basically is because I'm running with this Blood of the Ancients perk. You see here 74.5% extra rocket launcher max ammo, which is awesome. It's giving me 52 total rockets. Now what I want to do though is I want to be able to replenish those rockets when I get close to running out of them. So what I like to do is the Logan's gun, a lower level Logan's gun. It doesn't have to be a level 10 like mine. You can farm it from Wilhelm, excuse me, but you can farm it from Wilhelm and get a lower level Logan's gun. If you use one at your level, when you do utilize it, how I'm going to utilize it with this build, you're likely going to cause damage to yourself and end up really hurting yourself and going into fight for your life. You don't want to do that. That's why I have a lower level Logan's gun. So if you have a lower level character, you want to farm it with them, then go ahead and get it into this into your Commando's hands. That'd be your best bet. But I would go ahead and do that. The Logan's gun combined with the transformer or a sham shield or some sort of absorption shield, you can actually shoot the Logan's gun at your feet and replenish your rockets. I would suggest doing that. Some guys, you know, in some of the builds have said, hey, you can use this big bloom blaster shield, which drops a booster that you can use to replenish rockets. The boosters give you 1 grenade and 1 rocket per booster that you know, drops on the ground. However, there's only about a 16% chance you see that the booster is actually going to drop. I found myself in this build when I was using the shield, I was still running out of rockets, running out of ammo, and then having to switch up to a Logan's gun, transformer, or sham combination to replenish my rockets. So you can use the big boom blaster if you like. It will work. It's a good shield. As you see, it's got more capacity than my transformer does. However, just the chance that, you know, if I need to replenish rockets, I can't do it real quickly. I gotta hope that I get hit and it drops a booster. And there being only about a 16% chance of doing that, you know, it wasn't really working for me. So I went with the Logan's gun transformer, or you can use a Logan's gun sham shield, again, some sort of absorption shield with the Logan's gun to replenish your rockets. Now on this Blood of the Ancients here, again, I don't know if this is a maxed out one or not. If you guys have seen one that is maxed out, please let me know in the comments and I'd be glad to farm it. But I had a level 61 that didn't have good as stats as this. This is the best one I've seen. And again, as you see, the 74.5% increased launcher ammo just gives me a ton of rockets to just go in and just do massive damage. So instead of 30 rockets, I have 52 rockets, and which is that, and then being able to replenish it with the rockets with the transformer and the Logan's gun. I never run out of ammo, and I got plenty of ammo with my rockets to spare. Now the rockets I tend to use, again, you can, you know, figure out which rocket launchers you like most. I've used a Nukem before. I used an Ahab. I have those in my inventory, but I tend to stick with the Norfleet, as well as the big Bada Boom. I tend to run around with the Bada Boom more so than any of the others because, you know, for the price of 1 rocket, you fire 6 rockets, and the magazine size doesn't mean I have to keep reloading after every, you know, second shot or so. So, you know, it's just a really good rocket launcher to take out a single enemy. You can kind of, if you get it in the right range and just shoot a rocket, you know, 1 or 2 shots at them, you're putting, you know, 6 to 12 rockets on the target. You're usually going to take out most enemies with that, especially if they're slagged. The Norfleet I use just, you know, like a lot of you do, and in a lot of builds I use this as get out of a second wind type of thing. It's a good area of effect launcher that just deals massive damage everywhere in front of you, it seems. So I'll use that one and sometimes equip that if I get tougher enemies, a bigger mob of enemies, or going into fight for your life. Now down to the grenade mod, we have the Magic Missile. The Magic Missile is a great grenade for use in slagging enemies. You can use, I've carried some other ones, the Meteor Shower is a great one too, as well as, you know, I got Fire Bee and I got an Electric Leech, got other mods there, but I tend to roll with the Magic Missile because it does the slag damage and the slags I need, and you know, it regenerates the grenade. So with 14 grenades available to me, being able to throw these out at will, I never run out of grenades, and then I can, you know that when I throw them out and they hit enemies, if those enemies, if they don't go down from the massive grenade damage I'm doing to them, they're going to be slagged up pretty good for me to then take them out with the rockets. So really great combination using a Magic Missile with your rockets, and just the amount of ammo we have with those really just can tear enemies up. And then we have over here, as you well know, the Grenadier class mod. As you see, it gives us more extra grenade damage too. I didn't mention that before, but an extra 36% of grenade damage there. You can use a blue one that might give you a +6 in one of these skills. That's fine. I tend to, in a build like this, like to go with the purple mod that gives me, you know, some points in different skills. You know, that way it just kind of is a little more well-rounded. But if you have like one that's got a +6 steady skill, you could go with that too. And you know, I'd say if there is, I'd look for one with a +6 steady, and then some points in the Grenadier skill to really utilize this class the way I think it should be. The last one here, I have the grog nozzle. I know this, I've been told this is a gibbed grog nozzle. A friend basically dropped it to me and gave it to me, and you know, stated go ahead and use this to heal up. Most of you know the grog nozzle is available in Tiny Tina's DLC as a mission item. What you can do is with the grog nozzle, with the Magic Missile, I utilize that a lot of times. If I'm low on health, I'm going down, I need to go ahead and just switch up to a weapon real quick that'll then, when I do damage, heal me. I switch to the grog nozzle. You can use a ruby too as well, or any moxie weapon for that matter. but you switch up to like a ruby or a grog nozzle, throw those grenades out. You know, if you can get away from the enemies, when those grenades hit, you should be able to fill up your health real quick, and then that'll help you get back in the fight without going down. So that's kind of how I use this build. So you know, if you guys have any comments, please again leave them down below as to, you know, what you might use in a similar build. I'd love to hear your comments. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the gameplay. Alright guys, so here we go with the gameplay, and as you see here, this gameplay is going to kind of integrate all the elements I spoke about in the build into kind of one video. You see here that I'm going to have a mob of enemies in the Sir Hammerlock DLC here running at me, and you'll see the use of the rockets, the turret, the grog nozzle to keep me healed, the slag grenades from the magic missile, all kind of used as one. As you see me take these enemies out. So you see there I slag an enemy and then shoot them with the rocket, and they go down really quick. Even higher level enemies that are a level or two above you won't be able to do much against this combination. Now as you see here, I don't do as much damage against a non-slagged enemy, but again, 2 rocket shots and I can take them out. I'll even go down and get into second or get a second win at a point in this episode, and you'll see me switch. I'm using the bada boom right now, but you will see me switch over to the North Fleet to go ahead and kind of clear out more than one enemy at a time, which is really helpful. Again, North Fleet is a weapon I use with just about every build, really to get a second wind. As you see here, I switch to it, and then once I hit it, there, take out several enemies and get healed, and switch to my grog nozzle, throw the magic missiles, and you see my health almost instantly regained. So really good combination of items to use to keep yourself alive, keep yourself out of getting a death, and also just do a lot of damage against enemies. Now, again, you see here, these are mostly melee enemies I'm fighting here, which I thought is a good way. As you see, the reason why I'm jumping around a lot is to keep my distance against some of these enemies, and also if you kind of shoot an enemy, you know, in a close range, close proximity with a rocket launcher, you're likely going to get hit with that explosive damage and actually go down. So I kind of jump and then shoot it at the ground to get my distance on them and get a separation from them to take them out. As you see right there, again, perfect example of use of a grog nozzle, of a magic missile, of my turret, combined with the rockets, just devastating amounts of damage. I do hope you guys like this video. Please hit like and subscribe. I do enjoy getting comments and feedback on what you think about the videos. If you have any ideas about tweaking the build that might suit different needs, please feel free to go ahead and share those. I'd love to hear it. I appreciate you guys watching the video. This is Rai. Happy gaming.